There are those who have dared to seek glimpses beyond the veil. How terrific is the price. For in the vastness of transcending our world are shapes of darkness that seize and bind.
A rare passage directly from the Necronomicon itself. If you know anything about Lovecraft, you know what that means. This is the book, the template for all other Eldritch tomes, the one that drives almost all who read it to raving madness. And now, you've heard a fragment of it. Stop. Think. Did those words drive you mad? Is this mere passage enough to infest your mind? Of course not. They're just words. Actually, when you think about it, the quote itself is kind of a caution against what you're really supposed to worry about when you read this text. Information. Shapes that seize and bind. Unbidden, intolerable knowledge that your meager human brain simply isn't meant to hold. No offense. But, in a way, I find that a little disappointing. It's not particularly surprising that learning about a whole pantheon of hidden malevolent deities that actually exist, or ancient conspiracies to exterminate humanity, or rites and spells that can warp the very fabric of reality would mess with you a bit. When I first read the Necronomicon decades ago, I thought it would be the text itself that was going to be cursed. I thought the mere act of looking at the pages, the words, was the path to madness. I thought, wow, a book could have that kind of power. I haven't stopped thinking about that idea since. Something about it is just impossibly alluring. I mean, I love books. Reading is at least half of what I've done with my life at this point, at least. And I feel something in that idea. It feels right, intuitive. A book, just a book, that could drive you mad. It makes sense to me. I believe it could happen. My only real question is, how? There is a book I'm about to talk about in this video, one you've heard me talk about probably a dozen times at this point. One that, at this cultural moment, I really think needs no introduction. What it does need, however, is a good illustration, because the original text doesn't have any. So, this is our depiction of the King in Yellow, the living embodiment of literary madness. It was created by our very own artist, Owen Fawkes, and not to brag, but I legitimately think this is my favorite depiction of him. And look, here he is hanging on someone's wall, and someone else's, and a bunch of other people's. If you really like this piece, or if you just really love the King in Yellow, or if you just want to support Foundry and everything we do, you can buy your own print of this amazing piece right now. It's available in our Nebula store for just $20. I promise you, what I'm showing you in this video does not do it justice at all. There's so much detail you won't ever notice until it's right in front of you. There's even a little taloid hidden somewhere in there that you can only find in the physical print, just for fun. To get yours, just visit thetalefoundry.com/store or click the link in the description. I can't promise you won't go mad looking at it. That's just a risk you'll have to take. Now, back to the video. Hildred Castaigne is reading the play The King in Yellow for the first time. He finishes the first act and gets a strange feeling that he should stop. He's about to throw the book into the fireplace, and then he sees a single sentence on the next page, the beginning of the second act. Only a few words, but just enough to seal his fate. He reads the cursed play again and again, Soon, he believes he's part of the narrative himself, the lost heir to Carcosa, the kingdom where the play is set. His reality shattered, he becomes convinced that the King in Yellow has chosen him to rule. Eventually, in his mania, he hatches a plot to kill his cousin, a supposed usurper to the throne. More immersed in the play than any actor could ever hope to be, he is infected with imagination. This is the basic setup for the short story The Repairer of Reputations, the very first entry in Robert W. Chambers' legendary anthology, The King in Yellow. Yes, it's the name of the cursed fictional play that appears throughout the stories, but it's also the name of the book itself that all the stories appear in. It's both. The stories never tell you why the play drives people mad, but if you read it closely, this first story does tell you how. Over and over again, Hildred proclaims that there is something true within this play. He can't articulate what it is, but he knows it's there. He can't interpret that truth, so instead, he takes the story very, very literally. The King in Yellow is ultimately just a play. This is not the Necronomicon. There isn't any overt, concrete truth the story offers that leads to the conclusion Hildred came to. That was a matter of interpretation. And if interpreting the play is the part that drives you to madness, if the pursuit of some inexplicable truth hidden within it is the danger, well, where have we seen that before? Truth, I find, is a word people default to very easily when talking about art, fiction especially. It's the language Hildred uses to describe the play, terrible in its simplicity, irresistible in its truth. You can read a book, you can have an experience with it, and even if it offers no material, factual information that you can act on, sometimes truth is the only term to describe what you've found in its pages. A thing not tangible, a thing not empirical or replicable, a thing unique to your interpretation and experience with the work, but real, all the same. The Necronomicon is a cursed text because of what it can convey to you, the truths it contains. The King in Yellow, it's a text cursed by the reader. Something that becomes malevolent only when you recognize the unwritten, ineffable implications of its text. In other words, it's not the book itself that drives you mad, it's the pursuit of the truth hidden in its pages. And, if that's the case, who would ever willingly subject themselves to that?
I'm like, I don't get it, so I'm going to write an essay, and hopefully at the end I'll get it. But sometimes, when you are writing that essay, you're like, oh no, I thought that I was going to go to these 2 places, and now I'm seeing like 7 more that I should also go to.
I do think that there are so many directions you can take with any kind of interpretation that you have to pick one and like whatever sort of cyclone you end up of interpretation you end up in, like there are many, there are infinite approaches you can take to understanding any kind of story, but they're all gonna, I think if you're approaching them correctly, they're all gonna drive you a little bit insane. They're gonna turn you in circles, and it's not gonna be clear like where the beginning is or where the end is, and by the end of it you don't know what your name is. That's my experience anyway.
Dark circles under the eyes, an unkempt person, unwashed, hunched over a desk in a manner that is most foul. The socks pile up. People can tell what stage I'm at in a video by how I look and how well I can focus in a conversation. Early Video Curious Archive is like, hi, how are you? How's it going? Nice weather. And like late video, people will ask and I'm like, huh? What? My mind is not there. I'm not with them. Half my brain is still reading. Touching grass is your first order of business in the case of a Category 5 literary event.
There is one book in particular that I have to bring up here. It's a cursed text within a cursed text, possibly still within another cursed text. A book that wants you to play its game. A book that knows it's cursed. And above all, Mark Z. Danielewski's House of Leaves is designed to mess with you. So much so that I've had to rewrite my description of it here about a dozen times. So, pay attention, because this is a lot, and I have done my best. House of Leaves is an annotated novelization of a reading journal about an academic essay written about a film that doesn't exist. The film itself, the centerpiece of the book, is a sort of found-footage pseudo-documentary, a photojournalist trying to document something impossible happening in his house. The house is larger than it should be on the inside. The further the film descends into the labyrinthine depths of the house, the more the book itself, the one we're reading, breaks. Its text takes on a variety of increasingly bizarre formats. Every so often, there are words that look like typos but actually change the meaning of entire sentences. Some pages are jammed with a near illegible mess of words, others are practically blank. Oh, and I mentioned that this book is also a reading journal? Yeah, you're reading this alongside Johnny Truant, a disillusioned tattoo artist who himself is leaving his own rambling, introspective journals in the margins as he spirals into the darkness that is this thing. This book, it is dense. I found the mere experience of reading it just as alluring, just as confounding as the description of the house itself. In fact, I would say that the book is the house, at least in a metaphorical sense. And that's not just me talking. The story really, really wants you to know that. It even gives away the game in its title, House of Leaves. Leaves are pages. A House of Leaves is a book. That, at least, seems fairly straightforward. Remember that quote from The King in Yellow? Terrible in its simplicity, irresistible in its truth? You could say the same thing about the house on Ash Tree Lane. It seems ordinary for the most part, until you come to a single door. Inside it is what the audience of the film have come to call the 5.5-minute hallway, a corridor that breaks the laws of physics, making the house bigger on the inside by just 1/4 of an inch. It's enough to draw all those who enter the house's depths inside, just as a single sentence is enough to draw Hildred Castaigne into the horrific second act of The King in Yellow. And as Johnny Truant reads the essay about the film, it's that same need to find out that compels him forward. That promise of truth also compelled me, and countless others, to obsessively interpret and analyze House of Leaves. I was looking for threads of meaning wherever I could find them. It kept me way too busy for way too long. I kind of became a fanatic. Taking notes on this story felt dangerous to me, like I'd slip off a ledge and never return. I felt like I would never stop finding things in there. Here's the really scary thing, though. I think House of Leaves, the maniac experience of it, is about more than just House of Leaves. It seems to suggest in horrifying fashion that there are a lot of stories that are terrible in simplicity, irresistible in truth. Stories like
Pinocchio.
The Natural History of Unicorns.
I've been thinking a lot about Silent Hill lately.
Riverdale.
These people have all stared into the heart of madness. They do it all the time, on a regular basis. Stories impact them so much, they feel like they have to get you to understand what they've seen and felt as closely as they can. But unlike the film from House of Leaves or the play from The King in Yellow, the stories that drive them mad are really out there. They exist. To me, that's the truth at the heart of House of Leaves. The book is comparable to the house itself, yes, but so is every story. Alice in Wonderland is the house. The Last Unicorn is the house. The Metamorphosis, Blood Meridian, BioShock, Pan's Labyrinth, Toy Story, Lord of the Rings, Frankenstein are all the house on Ash Tree Lane. What a story means depends on your experience and the way you interpret it. Potentially, any one story could mean innumerable things, or nothing at all. You could find meaning in there that the author didn't even intend, making all stories terrifyingly cosmic in scale. The film in House of Leaves ends with a shot of the only thing its creator knows to be true: darkness. It's the only thing you can be certain of with any text. You will never know everything it could possibly mean. Often, the only rational thing to do is accept that you'll never know everything and walk away. But sometimes, you can't. sometimes, like Johnny and everyone else who wrote in those pages, you have to come back. Because you know that somehow, impossibly, within this piece of fiction, the truth is still there, waiting for you to find it.
This book has completely undone me. A phrase which here means its lunatic sentences, lunatic story, lunatic characters, its depictions of the circulation of money and the trouble which ensues, the cruelty of which strikes suddenly and without reason from every direction at every time of day like a fainting spell, the varying love of an impulsive parent, the memory of a mysterious woman, the unexpected appearance of a glowworm, and countless other oddities and surprises and creatures and ghosts and pieces of wood. These have pushed me to the very edge of lunacy, utterly beyond my control, as if I'm nothing but a puppet pulled by the lunatic strings of lunatic literature, that all us readers are marionettes like this, sleeping and dying and dancing and fainting and living by the whim of some unseen author. Puppets, all of us, no matter how we dream of respectability and responsibility, of education and castles in the air, of true humanity, none of us will ever achieve the dream of becoming a real person.
How do you recognize a Category 5 literary event? Well, this is what that looks like. This is a dramatic reading of a note by Lemony Snicket documenting his experience with one of the most cursed texts of all time. A text I've read at least 5 times over. I may have lost count. One that I truly fear may have legitimately cursed me. I am, of course, talking about The Adventures of Pinocchio, inflicted upon the world by Carlo Collodi in 1883. Terrible in its simplicity, irresistible in its truth, and forever associated with lying. That spiral you listened to earlier, that was from a particular edition of Pinocchio illustrated by Mike Mignola with annotations by Lemony Snicket. This version does something very honest with the story. It admits Pinocchio's cursed text status right at the start. Quote, "Everyone who has read Pinocchio all the way through and spent some time thinking about it has become a raving lunatic," Snicket claims in the foreword. And so, naturally, he then tries to understand it. Gradually, the notes become incomprehensible ramblings, smeared with ink and riddled with errors. Snicket repeats himself over and over. He blacks out several times to the point where he misses entire passages of his own reading experience. By the end, his notes on Pinocchio start to look suspiciously like House of Leaves. I need you to understand something. Pinocchio is a dangerous text. Right at the beginning, it tells you that Pinocchio was alive before he was even carved into a puppet. He could think and talk even before he became a work of art. So, does that imply that art has a completely independent will from its creator? What was going on with that? Why does the blue fairy introduce herself by casually telling Pinocchio that she's dead? Why is there a snake with no narrative purpose but to burst an artery and die? Why do all the marionettes in the puppet theater instantly recognize Pinocchio? Is there something I'm missing here? Some sort of shared memory from when they were all trees? The madness of this story does not relent, even to the very last bit of punctuation at the end. After Pinocchio says how happy he is to be a real boy, Collodi ended the story with an ellipsis. Depending on how you read it, that could change the meaning of the entire thing. And get this, when allegedly asked about the ellipsis years after he wrote the story, Collodi allegedly responded, "I don't remember having ended it like that." What? My point is that Lemony Snicket, I think, had a pretty reasonable experience reading Pinocchio. Either that or I've gone mad. Pinocchio, in all likelihood, wasn't meant to be a cursed text. It's an entertaining story published in a children's magazine. It's not exactly unknowable or forbidden. It's in the public domain. Still, like The King in Yellow or House of Leaves, it is a text that I can only describe as bigger than itself. There are truths in it, things that just make sense, but are impossible to explain. In the lives of puppets, there's always a but that ruins everything. There are lies with short legs and lies with long noses. And a story about a living puppet who wants to be human, that might be truer than anything. Pinocchio isn't a cursed text, not on its own. It's the reader who makes it cursed. Your interpretation and perspective give it depth and meaning. And if Pinocchio could become a cursed text, then any text could be. The 5.5-minute hallway is always there. The question is, are you willing to open the door? Fiction isn't real. It's all made up. So, if it's impossible to fully figure out, why subject yourself to the madness? Why endlessly search for truth in something you know isn't real? Why look for meaning when there's no definitive, objective point to it? I need to talk about House of Leaves one more time. I promise it's really, really important. By the book's end, Johnny Truant has hit rock bottom. He's lost everything in his spiral of obsession over this essay about a non-existent film. His job, his sanity, his only friend. One night, he ends up at a bar. The band is playing a song about the 5.5-minute hallway. So, after the show, Johnny asks them about it. Turns out, a lot of people have been doing this at different shows in different cities. One of the musicians gives Johnny a book, House of Leaves. The book that you've been reading this entire time, complete with Johnny's journaling inside. The musician tells Johnny, "Be careful. It'll change your life." This copy of the book is full of new, handwritten annotations. People have been meeting up in person all the time to discuss its contents. But even more than that, they've been writing notes about Johnny. In the margins, he reads all their questions.
Did Johnny ever find the house?
Did he get a good night's sleep?
And most of all,
has he finally found love?
There's no question I cherished the substance of those pages, Johnny writes. However imperfect, however incomplete. Although, in that respect, they were absolutely complete. Every error and unfinished gesture and all the inaudible discourse preserved and intact. Here, now, resting in the palms of my hands, an echo from across the years. Johnny is an unreliable narrator. He could be making it all up, but he's also a fictional character. None of this is real. Right now, the only thing that matters is, for once, he's okay. Johnny Truant is okay. He is the story, and there are countless ways to know a story. He is unfathomably meaningful, infinitely loved. To me, and many others, this is the reason we invite the curse.
It deserves to be thought about this much. You know, like me writing an essay about it is because there is more than, 10 essays could possibly say.
Interpretations matter because it affects how we see the world and how we see each other within that world. That's kind of the only thing we're in control of in the universe,
Take my hand and dream with me.
You will see those terrible, irresistible truths, and your understanding will be lonely and incomplete. Your reality will be transformed forever by things that aren't real. You will search for meaning knowing you will never truly find it. You will wonder many times, as I have, if a character who doesn't exist will get a good night's sleep. A story can drive you mad by being true and fictional all at once. Allowing it to drive you mad, welcoming the curse. It's an act of love. Love for the text and what it is, and your willingness to become part of it. For if you stare into the hallway knowing beyond doubt that it leads to total darkness, what madder thing than love could compel you to enter? Speaking of love, one thing I love to see is a body of work that starts out small, humble, relatively simple, and then, with the love of its audience and creators, grows out into something almost unbelievably vast. I can think of a lot of titles like this, but the one I want to point to here is an indie game series you may have heard of before. It's called Faith, the Unholy Trinity. What began as an indie pixel art project with some incredibly iconic rotoscoped graphics has since boiled over into a 3-part trilogy so deep and rich it spawned multiple video essays with millions of views each. In 2024, it was revealed that a feature-length film based on the series was already in development. Faith is already a cult classic. and it's not even a decade old. It has, by every measure, escaped containment. You want a cursed text? Something infectious that people can't help but consume? Here you go. Actually, I mean that in a more literal way than you might expect. See, Faith is a game series, yes, but right now, until June 30th, for the first time ever, you can get your hands on the book. In partnership with Lost in Cult, the creators of Faith have crafted a beautiful, and I mean truly beautiful, look at this thing, DesignWorks book about the series. This is so much more than a book. It's an authoritative history of the game. It's a breakdown of the art and the design philosophy of it. It comes with a secondary rotoscope booklet complete with tracing paper overlays so that you can see the original reference movements filmed by the creator, Erdorf. It also comes with a set of 3 lenticular rotoscoped art cards and, get this, an actual real-life cassette tape containing the game's official soundtrack. And all of it sits neatly in a large black presentation box with red foil details and a central debossed cross. So, importantly, you can show this thing off. This is an absolute love letter to the series. I can't imagine a better way to honor this piece of art. The deluxe version with all the features is available only until June 30th, so if you want yours, I'd hurry. Visit lostincult.co.uk and use code FoundryFaith to get 10% off. After the campaign ends, all of that amazing stuff, the cassette tape, the rotoscope booklet, the display case, will be gone forever. You'll still be able to buy the standard edition of the DesignWorks book itself, but if you want this masterpiece, I'd pick it up now. Again, that's lostincult.co.uk and code FoundryFaith at checkout. You can also just click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. I don't want to oversell it, but part of me thinks this is one of the most important videos we've ever made. If I had to point to just one to sum up what this whole channel is about, I really do think this would be it. I just love fiction too much not to let it drive me mad. And since you're here, I assume you feel the same. So, I guess I'll see you at the other end of the hall. Until then, safe travels. Bye.